So when we think about chastisement, we easily think about punishment. God is like chastising you, big spank or something like that. But it is, according to the Greek word in Hebrews 12, it is much more about cultivation and growth. Like you want to see a plant grow, then you are going to, put a stick next to it and tie it to it and water it and do all, and maybe trim some things off, but it's not a punishment. It is about growth, and it's about fruit bearing. And with God, likewise, chastisement is about an expanding, a growing relationship. That's what He wants to see. And just like a little child, a little baby does not innately know the dangers that surround that baby. And they don't recognize sharp objects, ledges, possibility of falling, deep water. Okay, little children have no idea about any of this stuff, and they need to be taught, and they need to be told, no, you don't do that. No, they need to hear that word from a young age. And likewise, we believers need to be told no by God from a young age as believers. It is part of our lives as believers. The Holy Spirit has to speak to us. So, and that's part of chastisement. That's what chastisement really is. Now, evidently, chastisement can go way beyond just reproof. Hebrews 12:5 says this. No is part of the chastisement process. But the point is that it can go beyond that. Because if I refuse to accept the no that God gives me, then God will remain persistent. He wants me to fellowship with Him in a growing way, and He wants me to have more of a relationship with Him and more of a relationship with Him. But this is not merciless. This is not cruelty on His part, okay? Instead, it's about God wanting His grace to define our relationship with Him. And in fact, it's interesting because according to Hebrews 12, one of the key ways of recognizing whether someone is actually a believer is chastisement. Whether they are chastised for sin. So they sin, they start living a life of sin as a believer, and this is possible, sadly. And then the Holy Spirit talks to them, reproves them, and says, no, don't do that, or even brings further correction if that reproof is refused. If I say, no, I'm going to stick with my sin, is there more correction? And that's something that shows this is one of the key ways for recognizing it. Okay, let me read Hebrews 12:6, 7 and 8. For whom the Lord loves, He chastens, and scourges every son whom He receives. If you endure chastening, God deals with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father does not chasten? But if you be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then you are bastards and not sons. So that's a very strong statement from the writer of Hebrews, and he's saying, well, if you're not chastised, if God is not stopping you, if God is not saying, well, God will never stop you, but He will bring hardship into your way. If you can just merrily go down the way of sin and no correction ever comes in your way, the writer is saying, are you then even a son? So this is an important point here. And one more thing I want you to see in these verses. It turns out here, it says, for whom the Lord loves, He chastens. So them He will cultivate. He will want to see grow. And the point is, it turns out here that chastisement is an outcome of love, okay? It is not an outcome of cruelty or harshness or desire to penalize on the part of God. That's not what we're talking about. And I think this is an important point for all of us to consider, because it means that actually chastisement reveals a father-son relationship between us and God the Father. So when we are corrected by God, then we should not be disheartened by that, because that correction is, well, actually it should be an encouragement to us. sure, it doesn't feel great. It hurts, like when that plant is being trimmed. Somehow the unnecessary branches are cut off. That doesn't feel great, I'm sure. But it doesn't mean that therefore we are rejected. It actually means quite the opposite. I trust that that's a start for a good meditation for your day. God bless you.